Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Lawal and this is the second video on the Parahack Let's Learn Sveltekit series. And in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at routing in Sveltekit. So if you were there for the last video, you saw some little example that I gave in routing. And if you did not watch the last video, first of all, shame on you. Go and watch the last video and make sure that you watch the last video. Make sure you like and make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And if you weren't there, it really doesn't matter. This video can stand alone on Sveltekit routing. So how does Sveltekit handle routing, right? Again, if you were in the last video, I explained this a little bit, but just pretend like you did not get anything down in that last video and start afresh, right? So Sveltekit utilizes file system-based routing, meaning every directory or folder defined in your routes folder becomes a route. And this is our routes folder. So this is a special folder, though this can be configured, but we won't be doing any of that. This is a special folder, and every folder or directory in this folder is a route. So how do we actually make that a route? Well, every plus page.spelt file inside the route creates a page in that application. So for example, we have this plus page.spelt file in the routes folder. This would create the base or root page. And then if I add another folder in here, for example, contacts, this will create a new route, right? But this will not create a page. How do I create a page? I do that by doing plus page.svelte. Now, plus page.svelte, this is a special file. It's not a type of file you can just use for anything. And this name is not a name you can just use for anything as well. So a plus page.svelte file is basically a page of your application, meaning that we can write HTML here, we can write CSS here, and we can also write JavaScript here as well, like the way you do in normal HTML pages. Now let's have a very short example and quick one. Spin up your dev server, npm dev for me, npm run dev for you, yarn dev, bun, whatever. There's like a million managers today. Well, whatever float your boat, use it and run your dev server. Now I'm in the browser and I'm also in the base or root page, and we see this text. This is the home page. Well, if I go to my application, you see that is basically what we wrote in this h1 tag. This is the home page. And remember, as what I said about this contact page, that we have this plus page.svelte file, which is a special file, and this will create a page. Well, if I go to contact manually, we are taken to the contact page, but it's empty. And that is correct because of our plus page.svelte file and the contact page is empty. So if I change this to h1, this is the contact page. Save this. Now we have alt module reload or rerun for using bits. So you just have to save it and it would automatically refresh and rerun. And as you can see, we have this is the contact page written here. If I go back to the home page, it shows this is the home page. So that is the first thing done. You understand how it works, you know how to create a page in Sveltekit now. But how do I actually route from page A to page B? How do we move? Nobody's going to come to your application, and because everyone goes to the next page, go to the URL and start typing things, nobody's going to do it that way. So how do we actually do that? Well, when it comes to Sveltekit, we try to mirror the native ways of doing things in the web. So we don't try to create a new stuff like the way you see in other frameworks. I'm trying not to call names, but you know what I'm talking about. And the reason why we can do that in Svelte or Sveltekit is because of Svelte uses a compiler. Svelte is a compiler. So since we are building with Sveltekit, we are using Svelte. And since we are using Svelte, we are using a compiler. Meaning that we can do nice things like this. Home page, and I can write here home page. Now this is an HTML tag, but this is not an HTML page. This is a Svelte page. So a lot of you might look at this and you might be like, that's very nice. And that's because it is. We want to write our code the way we are supposed to write our code. And that's one thing Sveltekit allows us to do. It allows you to write your code in the correct manner. So when you leave Sveltekit to another application, you understand the web a little bit more better, not just understanding the framework, you understand the web. So this is an A tag. I don't know how to start explaining an A tag. I expect you to understand HTML before you watch this series. So as you can see, the usual A tag, anchor tag, we have the href, and we have the paths that we want to go to, and then we have the text, which is home page. If I save this and I go to my base or root page, and I have another A tag, and I'll go to the contact, and I'll be here, contact page, and I'll save this as well. So let's go back to the browser, and you see we have the contact page because of we are in the root page. If I click on the contact page, magically navigates me to the contact page. Now I'm in the contact page, and we'll go back to the home page. It magically navigates me to the home page, and now I'm in the home page. And one thing you might have noticed is that we don't actually reload the browser. And if you are coming from HTML, you might be used to the browser actually reloading anytime you click on an anchor tag. And the reason why this doesn't reload is because of when we actually run the Sveltekit application, it transitions into client-side navigation like the way single page applications do. So you have that benefit of server-side rendering and the advantage in terms of experience with client-side navigation. So it's just the best of both worlds. So we can go back and forth and have a nice time. It doesn't reload even once. And the only time this would actually reload is disabled JavaScript. So if the user didn't have JavaScript enabled on his browser for any reason, this would just default to reloading the browser and navigating normally as every other web page would do on that user's browser. So we've talked about the plus page.svelte file, which is just one in like 6 different special files that we have in Sveltekit. So what other ones do we have? Well, we have the layout page. And the layout page is very, very important, almost as important as the plus page.svelte file itself. And why is it important? Well, the thing about building apps is that different pages in your app would oftentimes share common UI elements like an header or a sidebar or a footer, right? So instead of repeating it in each page component, so if we want a particular header in all our applications and in all our pages, we're going to come to the root page and put the header here. That will say header. Go to the top, and then I'll have to come to the contact page and put the header right up here as well. And if we had like 50 more pages, we'd have to put the header there as well. We can utilize a layout component that applies to all routes in the same directory. Now, how do you actually apply this? Well, it's very simple. So for example, we're using the header and we want the header. So let's actually get rid of the header in both of these pages. We want the header to show in both the contact and the home page and on every other page that we might create in the future. So how do we do that? So it's very, very easy. We create a layout file, and that layout file is also a special file. And the way we create it is by, first of all, we need to go to the root of the directory we want that layout to take effect. In our case, is in the route directory. So go there, and then we'll create the layout file. Very simple and very similar to the way we created the page file, plus layout.svelte. So you guessed it, clap for yourself. Plus layout.svelte, and we'll create this. Let's save this, and let's see what happens in the browser. Well, everything disappears, right? And you might be confused. Well, don't actually be confused because it's actually correct. What is actually happening is correct. Now, the layout is basically covering the page and the contact. So right now we are on the home page and the layout is basically covering it. So we don't see anything. That's because we've not told the layout that we want to see something. So if I did an H1 and I said, this is the layout, and I saved this, and I went back to the browser, we see this is the layout, but we don't actually see the content inside the home page. And if I went back to the contact, We'll also see this is layout because of, again, this layout is covering also the contact, but we don't actually see the content of the contact page. And the reason for that is we need to tell Sveltekit where we want to output their their content, basically the layout children. Now we can easily do that by using the slots. So how do we actually do that? Well, we use slots very simple by writing the slot tag. So it can be self-closed or not, whatever you want to use. So you can do it like this, or you can do it like this. Slots. They will work. And by doing this, I'm telling Sveltekit that this is where I want to output it. And why this is important is because I can want to have content above here, and I want to have content below here. So I need to tell it exactly where I want to put the children. So this slot symbolizes the children, and wherever you put this slot is where the children will be placed as well. And the children are basically the home page, the content page, and every other page that will be created inside this root or inside this routes folder. So let's get rid of this jargon and put an header and say this is the header right here like this. Now let's take a look at the browser. Well, we have this is the header, and then we have this is the contact page, and then we have home page. Now this is the contact page, and the home page link is the content of the contact page, if you remember. And if you go back to the home page, we'll see the same thing. This is the header, this is the home page, and also see this is the contact page. So one nice thing we can do is in the header, instead of having the links in all the pages, we can also have in the header the links. So we're gonna come to the header here. I can have a UL. I believe you all know what a UL and an LI is. And in the LI, I can have an A tag. Let's see, home page. I have another A tag. Sorry, another LI. It's another A tag. And this would be contact. This is a contact page. Now save this. And now I'll go to my home page. Get rid of that A tag. Go to my contact page. Also get rid of that A tag. Save this. Save all the files. Ctrl K and then S. Go back to the browser. And now we see home page. We see contact page. Now we can go to the contact page by clicking on the contact page. And we can go to the home page by clicking on the home page. And the UI element in the layout doesn't re-render because of it's still on the same layout, but the content of the pages they change the render. So this works. You now know how to create multiple pages. You can come here and then you can create another page about, you can create another page stores, you can create as much as you like. But for those cases where you can't really know the page beforehand, like for example, we have a blog right here, and then in this blog we can have multiple blogs, right? And the content of the blogs are not directly here. They're in a web server somewhere or in a CMS. So how do you know that, okay, this is the content of this blog and I want to render the content of this blog? But that's when route parameters comes in, our dynamic routes, as a lot of people call them. So for this example, I can come to this blog page and create a plus page dot svelte file, and I can have this is the blog, and in here I can have multiple blogs. I can have links to multiple blogs. I can have blog slash blog one. I can say this is blog one. I can also have for blog two and say this is blog two, and I have for blog three, this is blog three. So it's not really wise for me to be creating the blog one route and then put the content of blog one, blog two route, put the content of blog two, blog three route, put the content of blog three, even when I don't even actually know their content beforehand, because of their contents are not directly in the HTML or in the app. They are in a server somewhere. So how do we actually handle this edge case where we need to know the blog that we want to get, if it's blog two, if it's blog three, if it's blog one, and then fetch, the content of that blog, whether it's blog one, blog two, or blog three? Well, as I said, route parameters or dynamic routes. That's when they come in. So in this blog route, we can create another route. And the difference between dynamic routes and static routes is dynamic routes, they are placed in square brackets. So I can say blog slug like this. And instead of just putting blog slug like this, I'll put them in square brackets. Now this has become a dynamic route, and I'll explain to you better how this works. So I can just create this, and in this I can have my plus page dot svelte. I can now say in here, this is a dynamic route. Save this. I'll save this as well. So let's go to the browser. Let's go to blog. Okay, so we're having a little bit of issues, and the reason for that is I have a dash in the name, so it's not actually allowed when using Sveltekit. So this dash I have right here is not allowed. So what I can do is just camel case and say blog slug. Don't have to worry about that error at all. If you made the same mistake, just make sure you correct it. Remove that dash and make the S capital. So we can have blog slug like this. And let's reload the browser. Now we have the blog page. This is the blog, and we have blog 1, we have blog 2, and we have blog 3. And you might be thinking that the way this blog slug works is for us to go to basically inside square brackets blog slug. Now let's try that. That won't actually work, but let's try it. Slash open brackets blog slug. We might actually work because it's going to work as the slug. Well, let's just run this, and you see issues. So I was wrong. Issues. This is a dynamic route, and yeah, I get it. But the reason why it worked is because of it's going to take this as the slug, so I can actually write anything here, and it's always render this page. As far as inside, it is inside slash blog slash and then something. So I can actually output whatever is being written here. Now can I do that? Well, I can use the page store. I don't want to go into that, but I'll show you how to do it. And come here, and I'll say the blog slug is, for my brackets, and use page. So you guys don't have to worry about this part. I just want to show you guys that this would actually know the slug, and we can actually output it here and do all sort of things with it. So I'll just save this. Go back to my browser, and as you can see, this is the dynamic route. This blog slug is blah 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 blah, and that was basically what we wrote at the top. So if I went back to my blog page and I went to this is blog 1, it shows me that this is a dynamic route, and this blog slug is blog 1. If I went back and I went to blog 2, it does the same thing. If I went back and I went to blog 3, it does the same thing. And as you can see, anything we place here, because this is dynamic, it's going to be able to capture this. It knows what it is, and it will output it right here. And that's basically it for routing in this episode. There is more when it comes to routing, trust me, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I just want to give you guys a very simple introduction, get your feet wet so you know actually how routing works. So when you see something's being done, you're like, okay, this is how I can do it when I'm using Sveltekit. So don't be worried, there will be another episode later in the future where I will show you guys some advanced routing techniques and having a complete deep dive. This time it's going to be getting your feet wet. I'll be dipping you really deep into the sea of routing, but that is basically it for this tutorial. Make sure that you guys practice this, and if you had any issues anywhere, rewatch the video. If you rewatch the video and you still having the issues, let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to help you guys out. So on the next episode, we're going to be taking a look at loading data in our Sveltekit application. So make sure that you guys are there for that one. That one's going to be a really special one. So like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more, and share if you want other people to know of the good things that we're doing here. So make sure you guys stay safe. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.